Welcome back, Great Arts community. I'm your host, Jonah Forsyth.
And Autumn McDermott. And this is Grand Arts News.
Coming up this week is the second half of the AP Roadshow, starting off with English Lit, U.S. History, 2D Art Design and Drawing, Human Geography, Environmental Science, Psychology, Statistics and Calculus, and African Studies.
We have some great stories lined up for you guys this week.
Producer Alani Mendoza gets to know the cast members of A Chorus Line in this next segment.
Hey, I'm Audra and I play Sheila in A Chorus Line.
Yo, it's Baz and I play Greg.
Hi everyone, my name is Itzmada and my character is Maggie Winslow.
What's up guys, I'm Arnold and I play Mike in Vapa's news production, A Chorus Line.
My favorite musical has got to be Company by Sondheim. I just think it's perfect in every aspect for me. I love the music, I love the characters. I think Being Alive's the best song not ever written, that's crazy, but ever written in a musical. And yeah, it's fantastic. I'd love to play that part one day.
So I have two. The first one is Beetlejuice the musical. It was one of the first musicals that really got me into musical theater. And the second one is Anastasia. It's just really interesting because I found myself really interested about the Romanovs, so it was perfect.
So, my favorite musical that we've done in this school is Little Shop of Horrors. Have to be guilty on that. Loved Mr. Moshnik and the character. The cast was honestly one of my favorite and built a real family out of that. But my favorite musical outside of school is Les Mis. I think the music is awesome, love the choreography, and the costumes look beautiful.
My favorite musicals right now have to be Cabaret and Chorus Line, because with Cabaret, the music is so beautiful and the message is really important. It's the whole topic. It's really, it's just heart-wrenching, but it's so beautiful the way it's done and the way it's written, and yeah, the music's really good. And for Chorus Line, I just think it's fun. A lot of it, it's quick and it's snappy and it's just fun.
Mike is a confident guy, I would say. I think his ego is a bit big, but I feel like it works well with the character. I think he's really generous and loves to tap overall and dancing, and I have a lot of elements that I resonate with him, and I love him. He's a great guy.
Sheila is kind of flirty, kind of sassy. She's a little judgmental, actually, but I think once you get to know her, she's a really good friend, and she's funny. I think she's really funny. And she's kind of doesn't like to mess around.
Greg is very flamboyant. He's Jewish, like me. He loves to make people laugh. He loves to go above and beyond. He's very out there, and he's very not shy as a person.
Maggie is sort of like the girl next door type character. She's super sweet and really nice and cares about everybody else on the line, and she's very out there with people she knows, especially.
Thanks, Alani. Those seem like some fun people, especially that guy with the headphones. But yeah, if you weren't able to see it last week, it was wonderful, so you really missed out.
Our next story is about a resilient woman named Leah Wright and her time during the Eaton fires.
On top of the decreasing job stability in the film industry, Leah, who works as a shopper in television and film, and a recent survivor of breast cancer, now struggles with losing her home due to the LA wildfires. There are many reasons why the film industry has had this decrease in job stability, but the main ones are the coronavirus pandemic in 2020 and the 2023 writers' strike. One of the main concerns that promoted the writer's strike was the appearance of AI and how AI was influencing the industry. In the end, they achieved a lot of their talking points they wanted. However, production has slimmed down a lot in LA and has not come back to pre-pandemic levels.
Okay, so post-writer's strike, a lot of projects have moved out of LA and even out of the country. Productions are basically trying to save money by not filming locally because it's more expensive. They're also scaling back the size of crews that are staying here.
This is the reason why people who have worked in the industry for years are considering leaving Los Angeles.
And for someone like me who's been doing this for so long, it hasn't been this hard in a while. A lot of day checking here and there, sort of an average of like a week of work a month.
This is unusual for Leah because she used to work all the time.
So my day sort of was just sort of like managing the wind and not really wanting to drive anywhere. I just kind of stayed home because the wind was so crazy. And then we learned about the fires. I don't even remember. I think the fire started on like the second day of extreme wind. When the Eaton fire broke out, the actual Eaton Canyon site is about, I would say, like maybe 3 miles from my house. So we didn't really freak out like about our neighborhood. We were just like, oh, okay, well, Eaton Canyon's on fire. That's crazy. These winds are crazy. And they hadn't evacuated us yet. So we were just sort of like biding our time and trying, like watching to see what was going to happen, watching the fire app. We found out that we had to evacuate, like the go order came in at like 4 o'clock in the morning on that Wednesday morning. So that, I guess that would have been the 8th. So went to sleep on the night of the 7th. The power was still on when I went to bed. And when I woke up, the power was out and the house smelled like smoke. And I looked out the window and I could see all of the neighbors who were still there, because some people had left. Some people preemptively left. Some people preemptively evacuated. I did not. But the ones that were still left, we could see them all sort of simultaneously backing out of the driveway. And again, it was just like really difficult to evacuate because like it was pitch dark. The whole neighborhood had no power. The winds were gusting at like 80 to 100 per hour and embers were flying through the air. The wind created a literal firestorm. And that by the time that really got going, nobody had time. Everything just felt very rushed. My son's 17, so he had some crazy friends that were actually driving around monitoring, friends' houses. So they called me at like 8 o'clock in the morning to tell me the house was still there, but then by 10 it was gone. So it was like this very like high-low kind of feeling. Oh, you won the lottery, wait, psych. There's no money. It's kind of the feeling. It's like you just have nothing. I had to like digest that in chunks, if that makes sense. It's taken me a few weeks to really just accept the fact and really process the fact that my house is gone. And not only the house, but like the whole city, Altadena basically is like 80% gone.
The 1940s through 50s was a time of an expanding economy, business growth, and community in America and all around the world. During this period, 96% of Altadena's residents were white. During the Great Migration, there was a wave of Black Americans leaving the Jim Crow South to find opportunities elsewhere. Some of these Black families landed in Altadena, California.
My grandfather was from Georgia, and my grandmother was from Mississippi, and they both came out here, settled in, were able to buy a house and raise their children, and so it's a huge loss.
This and the social changes in the 1960s and 70s, like the Civil Rights Movement, protests against the Vietnam War, and rising youth, Altadena started to grow more diverse, causing a white flight in the area.
Those people who worked so hard against systemic like in the midst of systemic racism and all, and all of this adversity, they managed to be able to own homes, raise children, start businesses, and their homes, the property value of their homes was basically their generational wealth, and they lost their homes. Altadena had an 81% Black home ownership, which is way bigger than the national average for African American homeowners. So this is a big smack.
Despite everything, she found assistance through friends and organizations.
My friends just immediately, and family, some of my family immediately swooped in and just sort of like held me up, so to speak. They all rallied around me, started raising money for me, started bringing me essentials or anything, like people have given me so many things, so much clothes, whatever, this and that, for me and my son. this organization called Living Beauty, which helps women who have had or do have breast cancer, which I just survived last year. So there's a lot of resources that I have utilized and I'm grateful for. There's a sense of community in this disaster. I've talked to a lot of people. I've met a lot of new people and I've had strangers offer me a place to stay, which is crazy. Also, I learned to live in the moment, the present, not the past or the future. So somebody told me who lost everything, go live your life, do that thing that you want to do, go to that place you want to go to, because you really never know what's going to happen. So my plan for moving forward is to move into a new place. I have a place lined up. A friend of mine set me up with a sublet. So we're going to move into a sublet for this, foreseeable future and sort of see how that works. And I feel like, oddly enough, this experience, just like every other challenge that I've faced in the last couple of years, and there have been several, have just made me stronger and made me more grateful. It's interesting.
Wow, it's so incredible how a person can be so hopeful and uplifting even after such events. It's truly inspiring.
In our next segment, Snova Alkantoven explores how our own VAPA students make an effort to thank those who were so helpful during the fires.
On January 7th, 2025, a fire broke out in the Palisades area. Over the course of this fire, it burned more than 23,000 acres of land and over 2,000 structures. Over the course of the week, other fires such as the Eaton Canyon Fire and Hearst Fire began to sprout up as well. There were an estimated 7,500 firefighters who helped to extinguish these fires, including from places such as Australia, Canada, Mexico, and people who were incarcerated. Beyond that, people from all over Los Angeles County worked together to help support those who were affected by these fires, including people who were volunteering, donating food, and doing many other things to help support these people. One way our school's teachers wanted to help support these firefighters was to have their students write thoughtful cards to the people who are working so hard to help extinguish these fires. Let's take a look at what Principal Brown has to say about these cards.
Upon our return from our school being evacuated and then later being determined that it wasn't even safe to return that week, I actually discovered that this was happening by visiting the classrooms. The process of engaging in that activity, when I came across Mr. Schiller's class, not really to my surprise, there he was in action. And really adamant about we needed to do something as a community, and not just we as the adults, but our students. I later found that Mr. Wilkins was participating in this process, and then they were pulling in other teachers in the process. And I just was so excited to know that it was really our teachers who led the emphasis upon our students to say, you guys, this is our responsibility to do something and respond to what's taking place.
I found out of the cards through Mr. Roland. He had sent out a message on our staff page, and on that staff page I saw what his intentions were, and once I saw that it was something that he was trying to send for all the fire departments, it's always really hard to come back with something like that, so I thought it was a good opportunity for us to kind of spend that time, especially since we have a lot of students, and combined I have like over 150 students. So I knew we would be able to send a card to each station. So I felt like within our position and the time that we have, it would be a good idea to be able to do something like that for folks that have been having to deal with this for this whole time. So I think for the students, of course, we all kind of been impacted in different ways, and we all kind of deal with it in different ways. So I think it would have been a good time for us, for myself, and for y'all to be able to spend this time. Of course, you were, doing one station, but with that one card for that one station could have, meant a lot for them.
I am always impressed with my students. I think you guys are just dynamic. The conversations you're able to engage in, the way you process what is happening in and out of the school, around the world, and the way you accept ownership and responsibility for being active participants in that process, I think is something that I've not seen or experienced at every school I've been or in every area I've served.
Thankfully, On January 31st, the Palisades fire was deemed 100% contained. Thank you to all the students who helped write these cards and the teachers who inspired their students to write them.
What a fantastic way to show our thanks.
Speaking of thanks, thanks for watching.
Let's make it a Grand Arts Week.